In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. Sun Tzu.
If you're old enough to be watching YouTube videos, there's going to be a time in your life where things have seemed awful because, well, that's just life, isn't it? When everything seems to be going wrong and you just want to throw your hands up in despair and scream at your loudest. Well, I'm going to take you through the 4 steps I use to stay calm in different situations today, and I'll also explain how that's brought me success, as well as give you some examples of some well-known people that have found success by remaining calm in the time of crisis. The first and probably the most important of these 4 stages is acceptance, and it's accepting that from time to time happens. It's accepting that mistakes occur, and it's understanding that if something's already happened, it doesn't matter how much you panic, how much you flap your arms around, it's already happened. You can't change the fact it's happened. Then it's getting to the more interactive part of this and working with other people, and that's that sometimes people are just dicks. And there tends to be 2 types of dicks in these situations. You've got the one that actually was actively looking to cause trouble, and thankfully these are rarer. And you know, they take great glee at your misfortune, and it gives them the opportunity to kind of put themselves on a pedestal. And these are the nasty ones that you really want to keep an eye on and make sure you're as far away from as possible. And then the second one, people that just in a crisis aren't the people you really want to be around you, because they just don't know how to deal with it, and they're going to throw their arms up in the air. They're going to say it was his fault, it was her fault, it wasn't my fault, I didn't do anything, that the system didn't work, the printer broke down. They're going to come out with a million excuses of why it's anything or everyone else's fault other than their own. So really, acceptance is key to understanding that something bad's happened. It's already happened, you can't change it. But what do I mean when I say happens? Well, really it's about things that are outside of your control, the things that you couldn't have predicted. You know, things like your workmate phoning in sick on the day of a big presentation, and now it all falls on your shoulders and you don't know the finances inside out. Maybe it's your lab partner not doing their part of the project. Maybe it's your mortgage payment going up by a few $100s or pounds because some crazy fool in the government's made another wacky decision. We're looking at you, UK. But really, it's these things that, you know, are unexpected, and it's how you deal with that. Because let's think about it. If you couldn't have predicted it, if it's so far out of your control that there's nothing you can do about it, you're not going to actually put yourself in any better place by flapping around and waving your arms in the end and getting really worried about it. It's happened. How are we going to deal with it? How are we going to move forwards? That's so accepting the fact that sometimes these things will happen. But then we come to mistakes occurring, and they're going to, aren't they? We've all made mistakes, we'll all continue to make mistakes, and they're a real great opportunity to learn and to grow. And if you put yourself in a situation where you are terrified to make a mistake, then you're actually not going to push yourself to the boundaries that you are capable of, because by making a mistake, it's likely that we've put ourselves slightly outside of our comfort zone, and that's the perfect area for growth to occur. So celebrate those mistakes, understand they happen, accept they happen, and see what you can build on through making them. I spoke about people being dicks, but I think that was pretty self-explanatory. So then it's, you know, going on to understanding that if something's happened, that you can't change it. So unless you've already invented a time machine and you're able to go back and change things, then what are you going to gain by being really upset about something that's already happened? You're in a situation, you can control what you do in the present moment and how you respond in the future, but you can't do anything about the past. So accept the bad thing that's happened and make your plans to move forwards. Stage 2 is understanding. So how did you get into the situation? What happened? What caused it? Was it unexpected? Was there anything that you could have done about it? Then the next part of it is understanding that sometimes good people, people you're friends with, people you trust, sometimes in the situation they're going to flap, they're going to fall apart, and it's now on you to try and get them out of that situation as well, to stop them from flapping so you can do something positive about the problem that you found yourself with. And really the final part of understanding is understanding that honesty is the best policy. So you're only going to be able to understand what happened if people will tell the truth. So it's about creating that, you know, comfortable, open environment where you're not going to throw each other under the bus. You're going to say, yeah, I made this mistake, yeah, that happened because of this. And if you've got that kind of relationship with the people that you're working with, then you're much likely to come to a solution much faster than if you've got people trying to hide what went wrong. So stage 3 is around action. So what's gone wrong? How do we stop it from going any more wrong? Or how do we put a cease to what has gone wrong? And how do we do it straight away? Then you need to look at putting a line under what's happened. So it's happened, it's done. Let's not dwell on it, let's not worry about it, let's start working towards the solution. Let's start making sure that it doesn't continue to go wrong. Because if you've been sending the letters out to people, inviting them to a meeting with the wrong date, or stop sending those letters out as soon as you're aware of it, correct the problem. You know, really simple things. Don't let the next 500 letters continue to go. Then it's to say, right, we don't need to blame anyone at this point. There doesn't need to be finger pointing, there doesn't need to be blame thrown one way or the other, because that isn't going to help you in making sure that you stop the error from being made, or that you come to a solution that is going to fix the problem that you find yourself in. Now, a lot of times people will jump straight to action, and it will be the opposite of not apportioning blame. Sometimes when something's going wrong, people are pointing fingers, they're blaming so-and-so, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're saying it's your fault. And that puts your team or yourself, whoever's being blamed, into a really negative place. And that's not conducive to getting to the bottom of things and making sure that things are sorted out. So really, you're going to deal with the situation to the best of your ability. You're going to get your teammates around if you're working with a team, or if you're on your own. You're going to look at what you can do to salvage the situation. You're also then going to look about how do you stop it from happening again? What's gone wrong? If it was, study, then you didn't do any because you were too busy playing Xbox all the time. Maybe for your next exam, you're going to put your Xbox in the loft for a couple of weeks before the exam, so you actually aren't tempted to play it. There's so many different things that you can do, that you can take action with, to make sure that these situations don't re-arise. And if you have been able to stop a situation from happening again, you've made a huge success of the problem that you initially encountered. Now, the fourth and final stage is about review, and that's to go back and look at what happened. The situation, you've resolved it now to the best of your ability, and you're going to look at the steps that occurred before whatever went wrong. And then you're going to look at it and you're going to go, well, what lessons can we take from it? How can we stop anything from like this happening again? As I mentioned with the Xbox, put it in the loft. If you're working with people, you're going to say, well, Trevor's had a cold for a couple of weeks. He may not be in on the day of the presentation. So you're going to talk to Trevor a couple of days beforehand, or go through the presentation with him so you're ready to do his part of it if it comes to that. And then finally, you're going to look about how can you share what you've learned, and how can you share that with other people so other people don't make the same mistakes or don't face the same situations. And if you can do all of that, what you've managed to do is to stay calm through the situation, and you'll have won a lot of friends over. You'll have managed to convert people. They'll see you as a leader. They'll see you as someone that will stay calm in a crisis, and that will allow you to resolve whatever it is you're going through in a more robust and efficient manner. Now, before I go on to tell you how I've managed to remain calm at times of crisis and achieve things that I didn't think I would have been able to, we'll talk about some famous people that you've probably heard of, such as Leslie Sully Sullenberger. And you'll remember back in 2009 probably about the plane that landed on the Manhattan River, and certainly there's been a movie made about it. So when he got a double bird strike on both engines in the plane, instead of panicking and thinking, oh my word, what am I going to do, everything's gone to pot, he remained calm. He looked for the best possible option to deliver that plane safely. He couldn't land it back at the airport due to the distances. He couldn't fix the engine. So what he did is he made the best decision with what he had available in the time frame he had available. Then there's one of the most decorated female gymnasts of all time, and that's Simone Biles, who at the most recent Olympics was going through some things, and she pulled out of a bunch of events due to some mental health concerns. And while people were throwing a lot of shade her way, which was completely unfair, she managed to compose herself. She managed to find it within herself to come back out, and she competed in the balance beam, and ultimately she ended up taking a bronze medal away from an Olympic Games where she didn't really feel she was in any place to compete. But she did it, and you've got to applaud her for her fortitude and her skills. Now, the achievement I'm going to speak about, probably not as newsworthy as Sully or as Simone's, But it's really important to me, and it was around whole genome sequencing for cancer patients. And I joined a team that really we hadn't been recruiting enough patients, and we needed to offer people more opportunity to get involved and to have their genome sequenced. Now, it wasn't that people were doing things wrong, it wasn't that the staff were lazy, it wasn't that they were making mistakes, it was that actually the processes in place just weren't robust enough, they weren't efficient. So one of the things I was challenged with was looking at this. So I remained calm. I looked at different opportunities where we could offer patients access to this really exciting advance in medical technology. And through doing this and through working with the teams, we managed to not only become the top recruiters nationally, recruiting hundreds of patients each month, but also ensuring that this exciting cancer genome sequencing research study continued, because there'd been talk about pulling it completely, because at that point people weren't remaining calm. They were saying it's impossible, we can't do it, people aren't interested. Now, we proved unequivocally this wasn't the case. Patients were really keen, patients really wanted to give back, and we ended up having a huge success with whole genome sequencing in the United Kingdom, which they're now pushing on with, and that's been fantastic. So if you find yourself at a time of crisis, or the world seems like it's on fire, or things just don't seem to be going the way you want them, then follow the 4 stages to remaining calm, because this will allow you to make sure that you avoid any unnecessary mistakes, that you're aware of anything that may come at you from one side or another, and you're going to go through those 4 stages. You're going to accept what's happened, you're going to understand why it's happened, you're going to act on it to make sure it doesn't continue happening, and then you're going to review it so you can learn any lessons from what you've experienced. Now, it may be that your predisposition is to throw your arms in the air at time of crisis and just, lose your mind, and that's all right, because that's you and you shouldn't worry about that. But what you should do is you should try and take a few deep breaths. You should try and bring your heart rate down, your blood pressure down. Go for a walk if you need to. Get yourself away from the situation just for a little bit of time until you can get into a position where you can go through those 4 stages, because that's going to allow you to approach the situation much more calmly, which is, as we've said, going to give you much greater chance of being successful in diffusing it. Now, I believe in you. I know you can do it. I need you to believe in you too. That's all from me today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.